Hello, fellow Big Bros community, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Bros podcast. This week, we're not talking about body count. This week, we're not talking about whether males and females can be friends. Today, we're going to be speaking about... Jeremy, take it away.
That was different to the normal.
I'm so sick of doing the same one.
It's good. Jazz it up a bit.
All right.
But if it's your first time joining us, we do welcome you still. My name's Jeremy, and yeah, we have been talking more like relationshipy, more like body count, sex the last few weeks, which has been great. And, you know, we've had some really cool responses the last few weeks as well. Some people absolutely hating what we've said. Some people loving what we've said. And it's been a nice, refreshing last couple of weeks to hear those thoughts from people, which has been epic.
We've gone from like 3AW-esque episodes to more like Nova, Fox FM-esque type.
Triple J.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like our genre's changed.
It's been great. But yeah, today we want to talk about how to build a robust version of yourself, how to build a mind that is going to be so attractive to people. You're going to have such a magnetic energy to people that you're essentially going to become unfuckwithable.
Unfuckwithable. So not unfuckable, but unfuckwithable.
Unfuckwithable. So, you know, when we hear how people say like, you can't fuck with me, don't fuck with me type of vibe, like that energy of, you know, I'm so robust in my belief and I'm so fixated and passionate about my core values and my core morals that it doesn't matter what you say to me or what you think of me, it won't fuck with me.
All right, amazing.
So how to become unfuckwithable? It sounds like a pretty harsh term. And yeah, I've heard it coined over on social media the last few weeks, but it really stood out to me because I feel like it's just got that, it's such a robust term and it's such a, like a direct and passionate belief and mantra about yourself, but it attracts a certain energy and it attracts an energy that I think is really, really important in life in our early 20s. It attracts people around you that love you for you and take you for you and know that they cannot step on your toes, which is important.
There's a good friend of mine. If he's listening to this, he'll know that it's referring to him. He went on like a bit of a weight loss journey, but more so just a journey of being really, really healthy. And he became really, really disciplined. And that meant sacrificing certain nights out. And some of his own friends, including like mine, would even tell him like, you know, you can have a fun night out once in a while. But he was so driven. And yes, like from time to time, he would say, no, I'm not going to. But his resolve and his determination to stick to his values. At the time, it was, I want to strip a bit of weight off. I want to put a bit of muscle on. I want to become like the healthiest version of myself. Get into a really good sleep routine. He became unfuckwithable because, and over time, you know, at the start as a friend, you're like, oh, for God's sakes, it's getting frustrating. Like you can't have fun with them. But over time, you build a lot of respect for this person because at the end of the day, they resist temptation and they do what they believe is truly right for themselves. And over time, I think that first of all cultivates a lot of maturity, and it's really difficult to do at such a young age because when you've got parties, when you've got things to do that are fun, it's really easy to go off track and it doesn't really matter what you do. But he's not someone who was reactive, so you'd give him shit, but he wouldn't be reactive about it because he was really composed. He knew what he had to do. And I think that's one key pillar is that non-reactivity.
Yeah, being non-reactive makes you someone that can't be messed around with, that is unfuckwithable. Because if you have a perspective of, this is me, this is what I'm doing, this is what I believe for myself, and you don't care what people say about you and how they view you, then the defensiveness in your ego goes away. And once that defensiveness goes away, the ego can't really take a jab and can't be hit anymore. And you will just carry on doing what you do best and doing what you believe in, because that's what it really is. It's when our ego gets involved and gets in the way of what we want to do because of what other people might think of us, because of how people might be reacting to us. That is the biggest downfall, I think, in our characters as humans. So if we can work out how to get rid of that ego and how to not have an ego hit, you are going to become unfuckwithable. And you said it there. It's by learning to become non-reactive. And when you become non-reactive, you don't even start defending yourself anymore. You just cop stuff and be like, yeah, mate, fair enough. That's your perspective. I don't agree. I'm going to continue cracking on.
So I call it whiny bitch syndrome, is when you get really, really defensive over things. And I remember when I was younger, my older brother would just give me a lot of shit and I'd be really defensive. And I think when I started to mature a little bit after I turned 18, that's something I tried to really actively work on. And I would ask myself, why is it that I get super defensive about really small things, even banter? Because I would be sensitive about certain things. And first of all, before even kind of investigating why I would get defensive, I'd kind of realize it's just not an attractive quality in an individual if you're always defensive about something, because that ensures, like, for example, if you're always defensive about something, I have to almost walk around eggshells. I have to say the right things to not piss you off, and that is the most unattractive thing about someone. We love people that we can feel comfortable around, right? So that was something I wanted to kind of engender in myself. I wanted to be a chilled person. Obviously have my values. You don't cross me, you don't cross my boundaries or whatever, but I wanted to be someone you can banter with and not get, I didn't want to be the sort of person that would get offended at the smallest things. So I have to build some sort of resilience and non-reactivity. That also means I have to ask myself why I would get defensive about small little things. And the conclusion I came to, I want to hear if you agree with me here, is that the reason we get defensive about things sometimes is because that little voice in our head agrees with the person and what they say. And that little voice, whether it's called the inner bitch or it's the whiny bitch syndrome, whatever it is, we haven't exercised an oppositional voice to it. You've got the devil, you've got the angel, and that devil is speaking louder than the angel. And I think over time, you can develop that angel and that skill to kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, why am I actually getting offended at this? It's coming from a place of banter, is it not? Perhaps I am doubting my own abilities, but hey, brush it off. Have fun with it. Be strong.
Like you said, it's striking an insecurity. If you're getting offended by what someone is saying to you, and the person talking to you might not be saying something to actually hurt you or to get on your nerves. But, if I'm saying to you something like, Ilan, you're looking a little bit chubbier than usual. You're generally in pretty good nick, mate, but what's going on? Like, you're looking a little bit overweight. Like, is everything okay?
Am I actually?
No, you're looking great, mate.
I just wanted to check.
But, if something's out of pocket for you and a mate of yours is picking up on that and telling you, it might not be from a place of they're trying to get you and to catch you out. They're trying to simply just raise that with you because, like, we want to hold each other to a high level and a high degree, and we want to be accountable for one another as well. But if you hear those comments from me and you think, what are you trying to say? Like, that's just rude. That's out of pocket. Like, shut up, mate. Crack on with yourself. Stop worrying about me. You're getting defensive because your ego knows that is hitting an insecurity in you.
Correct.
And when you start to realize that, or when you rather start to embrace that insecurity and realize that, yeah, maybe this is an insecurity in me, and use the perspective of I'm going to use and channel that insecure energy to actually topple it and get on top of it, that is when you become unbreakable as a person.
So what's really funny there? Something that really helped me there is in line with what you just said, which is I tried to own my insecurities. They're my insecurities at the end of the day. They're not anyone else's. Other people might share it, might have their own insecurities that are similar to mine, but at the end of the day, I'm in control of controlling them. I can own them. I can say, hey, here it is. We spoke about it 10 weeks ago. We spoke about when you're going on a date with someone, right? Sometimes it's good to be vulnerable, but vulnerable in such a way where you own your insecurities because you're showing the other person that, hey, here's a defect about my personality. But at the end of the day, I don't actually care if you judge me or not. It is what it is. I'm not too fazed by it. And I think it's that lack of kind of that lack of freaking out about such small things. It makes someone very, very magnetic. And I reckon as soon as you own your insecurity, you take away its power as well. And then you can start thinking more rationally and logically. So let's say in this case, I put on a bit of weight, but let's say I was really, really insecure about it. And you said, hey, Ilan, you've put on a little bit of weight. Like, what's going on? You're usually in good nick. if I was really insecure, I could lash out and say, who the hell like, what do you know? You know, like, you know, you just came back from holiday, you put on 5 kilos yourself, like, what the fuck are you talking about? But let's say, you know, I was a little bit insecure about it, but I was trying to exercise that ability to quash it and control it. I'd say, yeah, look, not going to lie, a little bit insecure about putting on a bit of weight, but thanks for pointing it out. It's probably a good sign that, you know, if I'm not just noticing and my friends are, maybe it's a good sign to get back in the gym, get into a calorie deficit. But the reaction's different. You know what I mean? One's more collaborative and one's more defensive.
I love that. Yeah, it's a collaborative approach, and that's exactly right.
People want to. Sorry to interrupt you. People like to be collaborated with. That we don't want to be always be in like direct opposition.
Yeah, and you're not just collaborating with the person you're having the conversation with, but you're collaborating with yourself. You're collaborating with yourself because you are recognizing the insecurity that the ego is portraying to yourself, and you're collaborating with the ego essentially. And when you're collaborating with the ego, well, you're overpowering it, aren't you? You're overpowering it and you're quashing it, and you start to become such a robust person, and you start to see things as a challenge and as an exercise to beat and to accomplish, rather than as an obstacle. So you're seeing this weight loss journey now for you as a challenge and not as an obstacle. And I think that is the key, and that is rather not the key, that is the outcome to not being defensive anymore as a person.
But it's so true. Like, I can't be around people who are overly defensive about things.
Oh, well,
I can't. It's genuinely
of
impossible.
Course.
You can't date someone like that in a dating context. It's genuinely terrible. Like, first of all, I love bantering. I love feeling like, you know, you can say anything, obviously, as long as it's somewhat respectful. But I feel like banter and like teasing and having fun with your friends, it's just such, like, for me, it's such an important thing. Like, it's how I build relationships. It's almost like my own love language, I think. And I think for a lot of people, it's the same thing. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I think the best relationships are the ones where you point out your insecurities or your vulnerabilities, like we spoke about, and you laugh about it and you use it in like a banterous way within one another, rather than a way of hiding and shying away from it. So like, I'll give you an example. And this is like nothing really deep at all, but you know, I went on a date last week, and we were just like, we're chatting in the car and stuff. And I was just saying like how I am so incompetent when it comes with sense of direction. I am so bad with sense of direction. I have Google Maps on for everything. Doesn't matter if I'm driving like 10 minutes away from home. Like, I've just always got the maps on, because one, I like to check the ETAs as well.
Next time you're on a date, you should bring out the Melways.
Fuck, I don't even think people would know what the Melways are listening to this, unless you're, our generation or older. But that's a throwback. But anyways, I'm so incompetent with sense of directions, and rather than using that against me on that date, because you know, a first date, you want to like be as impressive as you can be. You want to show the person like how great of a person you are, and little insecurities or downfalls in character, or weaknesses rather. I don't think it's a downfall in character that I'm incompetent with directions, but I can call it a weakness. I'm using that weakness as a joke against me, and it gave banter to the conversation, and it was something to laugh about then, and it was something to laugh about for, you know, the rest of the night, or it becomes like a little in joke now about like not trusting me because I'm so bad with directions that you don't know where you're going to end up, you know? It's just a little example like that. Like, rather than me trying to be like so hyper fixated on being bad with the directions, and you know, trying to, you know, put up this like strong alpha, puff out my chest type of vibe, like, oh no, don't worry type of thing. I'm like, yeah, one thing you'll learn about me is I am just so fucking incompetent when it comes with directions, and that's just me. So let's just laugh about it.
Well, you know what you're doing there? You're owning it. You're like, you're not even really insecure about it. It could have been an insecurity at one point about.
But that could have been an insecurity for someone. Like, they could have And that could be like that little insecurity that bottles them up the whole night. You know, like they wanted to take this girl to a particular location for dinner or to the beach or like out to a restaurant, dessert place, whatever it might be. And they might get so bottled up with like not figuring out where to go that they then become really anxious about it, that they then start like panicking about it. And then that energy is felt and that body language is felt amongst like within the whole environment with that person. And it can eat up the environment. It can eat up the date, like something so small like that. So simply by just owning like, yeah, like I am shit when it comes to this. And like, let's just laugh about it. It actually brings you guys even closer.
It's so true. I mean, when I was younger in school, I was really insecure about my eyebrows because they were so bushy. I can make jokes about it now because it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like with time, obviously I got them done. I still get them done. And yes, make fun of me because I get them done. But I kind of have to.
Mate.
No, they're
self-care.
Like,
we love male grooming needs to become a more spoken about thing. You know, maybe this can be a whole nother episode.
Maybe
but like,
Manscaped can sponsor us.
Oh, that would be nice. But you know, like male grooming does not. It's imperative and it's not something that should be so like it just should be normal. It should be part of like every bloke's routine, right?
I think it
but
is. If I'm honest, nowadays.
I don't know, mate. Like you know, look around at some of our friends, and some people can still be like snotty nosed and stink like shit. So
sorry, mate.
It's just the basics.
I can't help myself.
But back to the point. You're a very, very well groomed man. So if anyone wants to give you crap about those eyebrows,
but the thing is, when I was younger, I was like, they were bad, right? They weren't terrible, but I look like borderline.
Okay, yeah.
And something I learned with time to do is you just laugh.
Yeah.
You have to laugh these things off because it's funny.
Yeah.
If other people find it funny, they're probably not trying to offend you, especially if it's your friends telling it. Your friends are rarely trying to actually hurt your feelings.
If they're your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's something I've always thought about as well is if there's something my friends say and they're laughing, but that they would never try and actually hurt you, then there's something funny about the situation. So why not laugh with them? Try and see it from their perspective. Don't build up this big, fragile wall around you and tell everyone, hey, what you said is really inappropriate. Because on some level, there was an element of humor to what they said. I think you should join in that. But my question is, at what point is a reaction merited? At what point can you say, okay, this is beyond banter. This is beyond, just a simple insecurity. This is like a fundamentally disrespectful.
I think a reaction is warranted when you know that you are actually giving something your best shot. Like you know that you're actually trying to accomplish something. Whether if we go back to that weight loss example, if we use that as the example of you're hitting gym, you're hitting nutrition, you're trying to work on yourself, and you still got people around you bringing it up to you in like a negative light, but in a light that is not actually constructive, in a light that's just, it's you're just being a prick. You're just being a prick. Like whether that's just being called fat or something, like that is not banter anymore. That is cutting a bit deeper, and you just know when it gets to that stage. We've all been there before. We just know when some people around us are just being pricks. And that's when like it's generally because they are insecure about something as well. And if they're truly your friend, that this is never going to happen and it shouldn't happen. And if it does happen, well, your answer's there. They're not your friend, are they? And it's not someone that you would want to be around because they're not actually building you up and collaborating with you like we spoke about earlier. They're distancing themselves, isolating themselves, trying to put themselves on a pedestal and make you feel small, make you feel inferior. And that's not what friends are for. So you can tell when that's happening, and that is when a reaction is warranted, when one, you can tell it's happening, and when you know that you are doing everything you can to work on yourself in that regard. That's when you can speak out and stand up for yourself. And that's when it comes also back to being unfuckwithable, because you know that what you're doing is so in line with your belief and your mantra at that point that you're not going to allow this person to fuck with you, whether they're your friend or whether they're not your friend. If what they're saying is just wrong and doesn't go, then they can't say anything or do anything to become an obstacle on your road path forward.
It's so true because, I mean, I've got big dreams and like I've got, as do you, we're both very ambitious people. And I think that with being ambitious, you play a risk. You might vocalize your dreams, and when you vocalize your dreams, your closest friends will get behind you. Even family will get behind you. Even if they don't think that you have the ability to attain it, they'll never let you know that. They'll help you get there. They won't speak about the end goal. And I think those are the same people who have the most right to banter with you, to give you shit. Because, at least in my case, I will never surround myself around someone who tries to undermine what I want to achieve in life. Because they're not my real friends. They're not my brothers. Right? And maybe, I think you would feel the same way. But the people there who, for example, as a podcast, they would give me feedback about the podcast, like, hey, you should do this because I love what you guys do here. You guys should probably scrap this if you want to, increase this, in this metric or whatever. And they give me banter and they, hang a bit of shit on me. I'll love that, because at the end of the day, beneath all the banter and all the kind of superficial discussions, they're there supporting my dreams. They're there giving me feedback. And feedback sometimes isn't going to be... Good feedback is rarely comfortable to hear. Great feedback is feedback that you need to implement and you haven't, but you know that if you do, you're going to see a lot of changes. The point here being is that for me, my limit is I would never surround myself around someone who, A, is undermining my dreams and ambitions, and B, deciding to banter with me when they weren't even there to kind of respect what I want to achieve.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And you can really pick up on those people. And, if we use this podcast as an example, we've picked up on those people because some people that we've come across will give incredibly constructive criticism and feedback. And at times, whether that's what we want to hear or not want to hear, we still appreciate it and we still take it with a perspective that is not taken personally. And this is how we've grown to become unfuckwithable, in my opinion, because it doesn't matter what people say to us. We don't take it personally. We don't. And I am I'm very passionate when I say that, because I feel like it used to be an area that I felt a downfall in. I used to be a person quite sensitive in school and just out of school as well, where I would take things quite personally. I really would care about what people would say to me, what people would think of me, how I would be perceived. That really did matter to me. But now, ever since I've become, I reckon ever since we've started this podcast and I've started to really learn to understand what is important to me, what values I align with, it's only strengthened my relationships. It's taken away the relationships that were no longer aligning with me anymore, and that were no longer, bettering me as a person, because that's what a relationship is, in my opinion. You need to be someone that is like going to provide betterment for that person, and they need to be able to make you a better person too. And that's why we get along so well, because you make me a better person and I make you a better person in ways I hope too. And that is why not taking things personally, the last year in particular, has only flourished me in that regard, and probably you, because you become so fixated on what it is you value and care about, and that only attracts people of the same mentality. So you become unfuckwithable, the people around you become unfuckwithable, and collectively and collaboratively, you just know that whatever criticism and feedback they're giving you is constructive and they're not trying to put you down. So when we come back to thinking about this podcast, for example, that's what's happened with us. We've realized who are the people that are only doing this for the best interests of us, and the ones that come and go here and there and don't actually listen and don't actually give a crap and just pop up every few months and say like, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Those are the ones that you can really see that like, look, you're not really on you're not really on my team here, because you're not coming from a place of construction. You're coming from a place of like, I'm just seeing some downfall, or I'm not seeing growth, and that's just kind of making me feel a bit happy. And we spoke about this off air as well, but Chris Williamson and Alex Hormozy's touched on this earlier. And Hormozy was really good at identifying that when people are pursuing something, their audience and their environment is always going to be judging their growth day by day, month by month, week by week. They're going to be judging them and scrutinizing them. And when things aren't looking like they are ascending and increasing at a rate that is visible to the public, it kind of gives them a sense of gratification of like, I knew it. I knew these guys, or I knew this person wasn't going to make it just yet. They weren't going to achieve it. That passion of theirs, it's actually not it's not gonna come to fruition. It gratifies them to see that, because, you know, people don't like to see other people chasing a dream that maybe they would have liked to chase as well, and they've just been too scared to. But little does the person know little do they know rather, that the person who is actually chasing that dream is not measuring themselves in days, weeks, and months. They're measuring themselves beyond that, in years, potentially in decades. And that is where you become such a robust person, because you're not allowing those voices in your head from the external audience, that background noise, to get to you, because they're only judging you by days, weeks, and months, but you're judging yourself by years and decades. You've got that long-term vision versus someone with a short-term vision.
I love that. And the reason I love that is twofold. One is, when people change, the people around them don't always supplement their change. It's sometimes uncomfortable when you see your friends take a journey of personal development, and uncomfortable in the sense that it can illuminate to you that you should be doing the same thing, but you're not. And I think that's a massive reason why people can hang shit on other people who, you know, go down the personal development pathway, or they do, you know, they implement some sort of change in their life. Like, you know, for example, people who go sober for a year with alcohol, especially in Australia, like, you'll get shamed for not drinking. But at the end of the day, people hang shit on that person.
It would probably cause friendship breakdown, right?
Yeah, it can. And something I've thought about is the fact that...
But it's a blessing in disguise.
I reckon so.
If that's causing friendship breakdown, it's a blessing in disguise.
But something I've thought about is, like, you know, the whole idea of like, oh, you've changed, man. No, it's not that you've changed. Sure, you've changed, but you've grown. And if if anyone's ever telling you that, it just means they haven't grown alongside you. Because truthfully, if you're ever in a friendship group and you have one person who's kind of going their own way, but in a good way, like not in they haven't started, you know, experiencing any form of drug addiction, and, you know, they're going astray in a more disciplined way. For example, they're going to gym more. They maybe, you know, have a fantasy of like getting a really good mark or whatever.
They're meal prepping.
Yeah, they're meal prepping.
Sleep's in touch.
Everything, and they're cutting out all the fun things.
Well, not necessarily the fun things, but the things that might not be serving their greater goal anymore.
Sure, but let's say the fun things that the group wants to do. Like, I don't know, maybe go to a festival, maybe go out, nights out, whatever. Instead of saying to this person, you know, you've changed and you've become boring, maybe ask yourself why you're thinking that. What is it about their trajectory that's actually bothering you so much? Because you can still do whatever you want. You can still go out to bars, you can go drink, you can eat whatever you want. But if they're choosing a path that's serving them and they're chasing their dreams, honestly, I reckon the best thing to do is, if you are feeling those feelings of uncomfortability, I would say perhaps part of you knows you should be doing that, but you haven't done it, and someone in your friendship group is, in a sense, illuminating that to you.
Well, yeah, they're only feeling that way because they're threatened. They're threatened. They're seeing someone chasing that greater good goal, and whether it is something so small of just optimizing their sleep schedule, if that's what they want to do, go to the gym more often. If that has meant compromising nights out, compromising drinking, not doing those things that maybe they were doing with the friendship group, and the friendship group isn't liking that anymore, one, they're truly not your friends, because it's not actually serving each other optimally anymore, and it's just bringing their feelings of insecurity to light. They're feeling threatened by you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, these are all really pivotal factors that will make you someone who's unfuckwithable. Unfuckwithable? Fuck. Got to stop swearing. But it's true because, from being someone who is less reactive to someone who is able to stay disciplined into their goals, someone, as you said, can measure their trajectory by decades rather than by days and weeks, is someone who is going to be quite resilient and focused and assertive in what they want to achieve. And owning their insecurities, I think, again, is like a massive, massive aspect here, because along any journey of self-improvement and personal development, you're going to doubt yourself, you're going to doubt your kind of trajectory. But with that being said, if you can take it day by day, but overall measure in decades, you put yourself in a really, really good position to be that sort of person that isn't going to be taken off path by other people's opinions. And I'm telling you right now, that's a bloody attractive quality to have.
Bloody attractive. And I think that is the most attractive magnetic energy you can be as a person.
I reckon so as well, because as I said before, no one likes a whiny bitch. Whiny bitch syndrome is not fun.
Nah.
Try see the good in everything. I really can't recommend that enough. Try and see the lighter things in some things.
Yep.
Even like you look at the best kind of speakers in the world, the ones who aren't even comedians, if they can crack like 2 or 3 good jokes, the audience is hooked.
Yeah.
It like enhances that talk, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think that reminds me, Douglas Murray said something like that like if you're having a debate with someone, it doesn't matter how many facts one party is spitting and how well they're maybe delivering their speech from like an eloquence and fluidity point of view. If the other person is cracking a couple of really good jokes and engaging the audience massively in that regard, they're the one that wins in the debate. They're the ones, like you've nailed it. You've gotten the audience on board. You've built that magnetic energy. And I think that is a beautiful way to sum up this episode, because it just encapsulates that if you're someone that is so passionate about what you believe in and you don't take things personally, you are not defensive in your nature, you are so unbreakable as a person. You're so robust, and that is the most attractive quality to have as a person, either attractiveness for friends or attractiveness romantically. That is a magnetic energy.
I love that. Jeremy, tell us what's happening next week.
Next week, we are celebrating episode 50 of Big Bros. And in celebration, we are doing a huge giveaway that we cannot wait for you guys to indulge in. So that will be spoken about on our stories throughout this week ahead, throughout next week. So you're going to have 2 weeks to get involved in this giveaway, and you will enter by liking and following, and that's it. So we're going to put up a post. So this episode, you'll be listening to this on Tuesday. By the time you listen to this, we will have a post up about our giveaway. Go and like that post. That enters you in the giveaway along with following our account. And that is all you need to do. And this giveaway will be shared on our story today.
So exciting. And what are we thinking about episode 50?
Episode 50 as well. Send us your questions.
Let's do a mailbag episode.
Let's do a mailbag.
Let's do
a Q&A. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear about your dilemmas. We want to hear about the big questions that you guys might have on your mind, and we want to be able to answer them and guide you through them.
It can be anything. It could be from, my mates want to do drugs this weekend and I'm not comfortable, to, I don't know if I should break up with my partner because I'm going away for 6 months, and you want to hear a different perspective. Like, write them in. It'll make a great episode 50. And we can keep things anonymous, by the way. That goes without saying.
Absolutely. But it's an exciting couple of weeks ahead. Get involved in our giveaway. We're so excited for this one to be released. And
I'm so pumped.
Actually, you know what?
It's going to be exciting.
We can probably just talk about it, because by the time this is released, it'll be up.
Yeah.
It'll already be up.
True, it will be. All right. So what are we giving away? 10 classes to?
We're giving away 10 classes to the Breath House. Now, we love the Breath House. I've personally had a class there myself and fell in love with it. We talk a lot about personal development on this podcast. We talk a lot about bettering yourself and being unbreakable, being unfuckwithable, as we spoke about today. And the breath house is an awesome place to really dive into yourself as a person and work on yourself, come out of it as a person that feels alert, focused, ready to go and attack the world in their other domains. And that is how I felt when I left the breath house. It wasn't meditation. It is a place where you work on your breath work, tap into your breathing, and it can appeal to anyone. So I loved it. It made me feel so alert and ready to go as a person in every other domain of my life. And it was also a great way to like meet people as well. Like everyone in that room was so willing to be working on themselves and bettering themselves as a person. And how good is it to be a part of a club, be a part of a community where everyone around you is sharing the same commonality as which you are as well. So we're giving away 10 classes, a whopping 10 classes to the breath house, along with some merch and goodies too. So get involved, enter the giveaway, and we're so excited for you to love it as much as we did. Alrighty, have a good week, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.